I want to talk to you about pricing. And before I do that, I want you to know that I've been in business going on 10, just about 10 years. I'm coming up on 10 years and have been running I started as a freelancer, just me, and I've built my company into an agency. I have, I think, 6 employees, and I'm at multi 6 figures and have been for several years. And I was having a conversation with Chief Executive Auntie. I'm gonna put her Instagram. Sorry, I'm not a pro at this. I don't know all the lingo, so at least I'm not a pro at Instagram yet. I'm working on it. So I'm gonna put her Instagram handle in the comments. And anyway, we were talking about how there's this mythology around the multi 6-figure business, and it's kind of a mystery. If you're not there, it's a mystery. How did you get there? What does it take? What does it look like? Does it mean you're rich? And so I'm gonna do a series of videos on that and just open up my books and share with you my process to when it comes down, right down to it. What does it look like for me to have a multi 6-figure agency? And we do, at my agency, we do web consulting and training and website management, SEO training. So the thing I want to talk to you about today is, with that intro, is one of the things that you have to do in order to grow your business to multi 6 figures is get comfortable with raising your prices. And that's a mindset thing. So if you are asking yourself, am I charging enough for my services? Or should I raise my prices? Then I can just tell you right now, the answer is you need to raise your prices. So that shouldn't be a question. So, and if it is a question and you're wondering, then that's all you need to know. In my experience. So and so one of the concerns when people think about raising their prices, and I had this same concern, is, but my customers won't be able to afford me if I raise my prices. And that's true. So here's what I mean by that. Your customers that you serve now, so the many of them, I don't know how many, but maybe not many, but depends on like how dramatic the change is, I guess, but many of them won't be able to afford your new pricing and your services at your new pricing. And that's okay. So what happens is you get a different set of customers, clients who can afford your pricing. You may get fewer clients depending on how much you raise your prices. And so one of the things that is required, I think, in order to, I know, in order to grow into a multi 6-figure business, at least, like that's just kind of where I feel like that's like a starting point now at this point, is to get comfortable with hearing no, or I can't afford you. A lot of people that call my office and ask to work with us can't afford us. And so we always think of that as not right now instead of never. And as a result, we work with clients who can afford us. And for us, it's become, that client who can afford us also is a different type of person to work with. They're often kind of used to paying a premium price for services. And I'd say when thinking about pricing, kind of really go to the extreme and think about becoming the most expensive option in your industry. So that's my goal, is I want to be the most expensive option. You might think that's crazy that people, if you're the most expensive, that people won't show up to pay for your services. So the fact is, not, it's a matter of just kind of managing who it is that I work with. And so when I started out, when I was we do a lot of training at my agency, and so when I started out offering training services, I did them a little bit, like I did them over a period of 5 weeks, and met in person with a group of people, and I said, hey, I did it through a meetup, and I said, hey, come to this WordPress training. It's going to be $20 a class. 18 people showed up for the first session, which was free, so they could kind of understand what it was about. Told them, it's going to be 5 classes. That's $20, and it's comprehensive. We're going to learn all about how to build your own website, and then the net, and $20 a session. That's $100 for learning WordPress, right? And building your own business website. So about 18 people showed up for that first session. About 9 people showed up for the first class. And then there was only about 6 people that solidly kind of showed up consistently for the rest of it. So a bunch of people said no. I don't know if they didn't want to pay the $20 or the $100, or some of those people, I'm sure, just they didn't see the value, right? For whatever reason, or they didn't, there could be other reasons, like they didn't have time. But then I started offering something very similar, the training. I just kind of, based upon that experience, I made changes. I kind of tweaked my service offering, and I started charging $450 for a comprehensive training that was 8 hours, lasted over 2 days. And at that price, I did, almost everyone that, really was wanting what I had to offer, almost everyone said yes to that. But there were people who said no. But almost everyone said yes. So, and I would talk about my service in terms of how many hours it was. So I would say that it was 8 hours of training for $450. And so I made more money. I was happy about that. Then I actually increased. Then I started thinking about. I hired an employee, so I had someone else I was working with, and someone else that could also do training. And I decided to raise my price to over $1,000. Like, I think it was $1,197, right? That was the scare. Had to think about it a lot. It was scary. I was like, oh, people might just completely dry up, and leads might dry up. Might not get anyone say yes to that. Actually, so we actually had more people sign up for training. So didn't see any decrease at all. And I more than doubled my price. So that was interesting. So to see basically so I was like, well, why haven't I been charging this price all along? So, and then, did that for probably less than a year before I decided, okay, we are actually booked out, pretty far out. I need to raise my prices again. And I decided to raise them to $1,500. When I raised them to $1,197, I also made another change, and this is important. I stopped talking about my service in terms of hours. And instead I started talking about my service in terms of a package of, a service package, because people get, when they work with us, a lot more than 8 hours, right? They get, a recording of their training. They get 90 days of follow-up support. So I started if they want, they can have a certificate of completion with my signature on it. And so just talking about it differently matters. And so when I raised my prices to $14.97 for 8 hours of training and 90 days of follow-up support or recording of the training, I'll come train in person, and this is just for one person. So $14.97, that's for one person. If you have 2 people or 3, it's actually more. There's a per person charge. It's slightly discounted, but not very much. So so I'll train groups of people, and it'll be over $5,000 to do a training with a small group of people. I limit the size of the groups. I don't train more than, sorry, my phone is kind of twisting around here. So I don't train more than, normally don't train more than 6 people at a time. 90% of our training is one-on-one. Okay, so back to this pricing idea. So I had to change the way I talk about it. So what happened when I raised my prices up to $1,500? So a lot more people started saying no. So, and I actually figured that might be the case, and I'm okay with it. So because now it's, so when we're training, it's, we know we're getting paid really well for it, and the service that we provide is worth that much, and not everyone can afford it. And yes, the client that I serve today is different than the client that I served when I was charging $450 for 8 hours of training, right? So so hopefully that so that is kind of my journey from going from charging $100 for comprehensive WordPress training over a period of 5 weeks to making it more a training process that actually is a little more manageable for me and my client. So 2 days for 4 hours each day, and charging $1,500 instead of $100, right? And yeah, so I just want to encourage you to go through that process. It does feel scary. It can feel like a risk. But in my 10 years, I have not regretted ever raising my prices. And if everyone is saying yes to what you have to offer, if people don't think twice, or even if most people are saying yes to what you have to offer, then you can probably raise your prices. You're going to hear no more often, is likely. Maybe not, but because I do have that experience as well. But that's okay. It's okay to hear no, I can't afford your service, and that's not the signal for you to create a discount or a coupon or decrease your prices or make an exception. So, all right, I have more to share. We're just getting started.